A lot of my childhood joy was due to Saban Entertainment. The campy comedy of Bulk and Skull, the love stories from season to season, new Zords, new suits, new weapons, it didn't matter. I was along for the ride and I enjoyed it. They even tricked me as a kid when Rocky, Adam, and Aisha came in. New Rangers, this is awesome, man. But I also enjoyed the brother shows. VR Troopers, Mass Rider, Big Bad Beetleborgs, Mystic Knights of Tir na Nog, Ninja Turtles, The Next Mutation, Los Luchadores. I consumed it all. Unfortunately, none of these lasted more than 2 seasons, which is a real shame. Even as a kid, I couldn't really understand why episodes like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 3, A Friend in Need, didn't happen more often, or Shell Shock from Power Rangers in Space. They had the ability to build a universe like today's MCU, but they never seemed to think about it. And it's completely obvious by these completely missed opportunities that could have happened for almost nothing. Hey everybody, my name's Casey. I'm a huge Power Ranger fan. I have to say thank you from the bottom of my heart because this started out as a nerdy YouTube channel about Power Rangers just for fun, for me to decompress, and I just hit 4,000 subscribers, and I cannot believe that. That's amazing, guys. Thank you so much for being a part of it. So subscribe, hit that bell for notifications, go up to the channel page, then go to the settings, put as your home page so that every time you open your internet, you see exactly what I'm up to. Or just subscribe or enjoy the video. So this video is all about the missed opportunities of the Saban live action universe. Now saying that, I've worked my hardest to look at real situations that could have worked out. Saban Entertainment wanted to produce these shows as low cost as possible, so I'm not going to jump to the idea of they should have invested like $100,000 into a crossover episode. These are realistic ways they could have built a universe for really no additional cost to what they were already doing in their filming budget. So let's get started. Now we get a Mass Rider team up in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 3, A Friend in Need. But like most things Saban, it was done before anyone knew who Mass Rider was. It was done to get people to watch the show. A crossover down the road would have actually established that this was a universe working at the same time, but it never happened. Although there is still hope for this crossover because in the show, Prince Dex is told that one day his son or daughter will become the new Masked Rider. There are plenty of Kamen Rider and Sentai team-ups throughout the years. It would have been easy to pick one and make the Kamen Rider into Masked Rider the next in line to lead Edenoi. With Power Rangers coming up to 30 years, it would be a nice nod to fans to finally do this. With the recent season of Beast Morphers using a metal hero for Captain Chaku, it might be in the near future. Personally, I would really love to see it happen. There are pictures of Blake Foster with the monster cast from Beetleborgs visiting set. I do believe that was a huge missed opportunity to not have Blake Foster guest star on Beetleborgs. In my Forever Red Beetleborgs video, I actually gave an easy crossover episode idea, so check that out if you haven't already. There is an episode in Turbo where Bulk and Skull are reading Beetleborgs comics, so that is a nice nod to the fandom, but it's a shame there was never a live-action team-up with Turbo and the Beetleborgs. But there was a potential crossover that could have happened with almost no added cost or work. In the first season of Beetleborgs, we had a villain named Jara. This was played by Raja. With her being on set every day, it wouldn't have been any different to tell her, hey, today you are playing Delphine. Raja played the White Alien Ranger in Mighty Morphin. And it's crazy to me that they didn't do an episode where the White Alien Ranger is stranded in Charterville and later finds help from Flabber and the Beetleborgs. It would have been a great crossover, and it would have been the same cost to make the episode. Mystic Knights of Tir na Nog is one of my favorites to talk about. It was the first all-original show that was filmed all by Saban Entertainment. The show was filmed in Ireland, so a crossover wouldn't have been easy to do. From an interview with Scott Page-Pachter, it seems the cast did come to America to record and do some ADR for the show. In a panel, Scott told a story about the time when the actress who played Deirdre was in America to do ADR, and a worker came up talking about what a shame it was that Mystic Knights had been canceled. And unfortunately, that's when she found out that the show she was the lead on was being canceled. So needless to say, it probably didn't make sense to do a crossover since Mystic Knights was already on the way out by the time the cast came to America, and they could have done a crossover. Mystic Knights did run through In Space and Lost Galaxy. What would have been a doable crossover would have been the Magna Defender coming to Tir na Nog. They could have shipped the suit to Ireland, filmed it with a different suit actor, and then voiced it back in America along with the rest of the show. The Magna Defender would have been similar to the Night theme, and it would have made a fairly cheap crossover to do. And if things were planned out, they could have sent the suit over to Ireland before they needed it in Lost Galaxy. I admit this would have been a little more work for Saban Entertainment, but they did this for the In Space and Ninja Turtles crossover that required shipping 5 suits over, and this would have only been 1. I think it would have helped push the universe further. Most people don't remember the short-lived Canadian-filmed Mexican wrestling-inspired show Los Luchadores. It's the last non-Power Ranger live-action show produced by Saban Entertainment and aired around the same time as Time Force. Honestly, these shows are almost too different to cross over. Time Force was one of the best seasons of Power Rangers and was overall more serious in tone, but Los Luchadores was a pretty hokey show. The only way I could see these going together would be bringing in the cast of Los Luchadores for the 2-part series movie Madness, where the Rangers are thrown into stereotypical movies of the past. If one featured a wrestling movie, the cast of Los Luchadores could be in it, but that is about the only way I think it could have worked. Since Los Luchadores was filmed in Canada, I don't think it would have made sense for them to fly the cast out for such a short cameo, but if they did any ADR work in America and were there at a good time to do a crossover, it would have been kind of cool. If you aren't familiar with Cybertron, no, not that Cybertron, because of Tommy's popularity, when the Green Ranger Sentai footage ran out, they shot a pilot with JDF called Cybertron. Most people recognize this as the suit from VR Troopers, and eventually JDF was pulled back onto Power Rangers, and Brad Hawkins, who was intended to be the White Ranger, ended up being given the lead in VR Troopers. Later, Brad did the voice of the Gold Zeo Ranger before Jason takes the powers. Honestly, I think Cybertron being abandoned was a bit of a missed opportunity. In the unaired pilot, JDF's character, Adam Steele, which is not the same character as the actual VR Troopers, his character name was Ryan Steele, is searching for his parents when his sensei brings him to his dad's lab and shows him the suit his dad made. He becomes Cybertron and faces off against Grimlord while going on a journey to discover his family and their past. What makes this a missed opportunity is that they brought back JDF because he was so popular with kids, but they didn't make this show a Tommy Oliver spinoff. They changed his name and made him a new character who coincidentally also does karate. The character of Tommy Oliver was adopted as a child, and this would have been the journey of Tommy learning who his parents were, saving the world with a whole new set of powers, and at some point in time, he would have returned to help the Rangers with his new powers in a crossover. Using the character Tommy could have helped propel this series into a longer-running franchise like Power Rangers. But even with VR Troopers the way it was, we had endless possibilities for a crossover with Power Rangers. They filmed right next to each other, so any day they could have just said, okay, Power Rangers go to the VR Trooper lot, or vice versa. The cast of VR Troopers have even talked about how they would hang out with the Rangers cast during lunch or other breaks. I could honestly go on all day about the possible episodes that could have occurred, but the ultimate point is that it wouldn't have costed Saban any more than a normal day of shooting. A quick example of how this could have worked would be Tao Chung, the sensei of the VR Troopers, and his 3 students coming to Angel Grove for a karate tournament. They face Rocky, Adam, and Aisha because they already do tournaments together, and afterwards the Rangers and VR Troopers go hang out at the park. They are attacked by putties, they work together as a team, and it would be a great way to have them in an episode together. Tao could even teach the Rangers a few new tactics. Or let's say VR Troopers had an episode where JB gets captured. He's the brains of the team, and having already met Billy, Billy comes to help them figure out how to save him. But the most frustrating missed crossover is in the 3-part miniseries There's No Business Like Snow Business from Power Rangers Zeo. Sarah Joy Brown, who was later engaged to Suzuki Levy, who was a big producer on Power Rangers, played a pro skier named Heather Thompson. This actually takes place right after Tommy is dumped by Kimberly. Heather befriends the Rangers. She has some possible romantic moments with Tommy, but in the end, Tommy and Kat find that they have feelings for each other. Sarah Joy Brown had played Caitlin Starr on VR Troopers. Even though VR Troopers was already off the air, they could have made a nod to fans with one simple fix. Tommy and the Rangers go to the ski resort, hearing about a pro skier who was there. They try to meet her, but instead find themselves bumping into a young reporter who is covering a story on the skier. This reporter being Caitlin Starr, former VR Trooper. Even if she didn't Trooper transform, it would have made sense to use the same character. Fans would have loved it. Now, Haim Saban didn't want any actors or actresses to be worth too much. By building a universe, they would be reliant on these actors and actresses to maintain working for them. And since they didn't want to pay them fairly, they wouldn't put effort into building a universe. Now, I have some examples of other team-ups that could have happened on Power Rangers itself, but this doesn't involve any brother shows. In Space is one of the best seasons of Power Rangers ever. I have a breakdown video about it if you haven't seen it already. Now, In Space had the most crossover / team-ups until Megaforce. We had the Ninja Turtles, Adam, Phantom Ranger, and many others during Countdown to Destruction. Even though we got a team up with Justin from Turbo, we unfortunately had a missed opportunity. Sentai had a movie featuring a crossover of Mega Ranger and Car Ranger, the seasons we know as Space and Turbo. In it, we get the two teams together and even a power-up mode for the In-Space Rangers. Of course, they could have had the original Ranger team featuring Tommy as the leader return, but I'm sure the actors and actresses at this point were happy to move on, and that is the reason why we never get the Zeo and Turbo team-up episode either. With In Space's episode with Justin, they could have had Blake Foster stick around for a few more episodes and have the Robot Rangers return to help the space team. If you aren't familiar, there was an episode where Zordon created a robot team of Rangers identical to the second half Turbo team. This team up could have been really cool, and with 4/5 of the cast being in the current season already, it would have been a pretty cheap crossover to make. Now, there's a movie of a massive Sentai team up called Sentai World. They feature what would be our Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Alien Rangers, the Squadron Rangers, Prism Rangers, and the unnamed team from Jetman. Only in recent years we have named the Prism and Squadron Rangers, but it would have been a pretty cool ending to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Instead of going straight to Zeo, we could have done a last massive battle where the Alien Rangers bring along a few other Ranger teams they know to stop a massive enemy. In the end, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers could have sacrificed their powers to stop the villain, and they would eventually become the Zeo team. I think this would have been pretty epic and a much more intense ending to the first series suits. A lot of fans are upset that they never used the Die Ranger suits in Power Rangers, besides the White Ranger, of course. After we had the Alien Ranger series, it sort of baffles me why Saban didn't use these suits for a mini-series as well. After establishing that there are other planets with Prince Dex, why didn't they find a way to bring these suits and have the Rangers team up with another foreign team? They wouldn't have to cast a major group for a long period of time. Even if it was just 2 episodes, it would have been pretty epic and made fans happy. But we are happy to see that they're being used in the current comics. I honestly think they could have done so much more to build this universe into something even more extreme, so much better. They could have had these crossovers happening for years to come, referencing shows from years past and doing all sorts of stuff, but they didn't really put the time into it, and you can tell that in the early 90s that they just didn't really understand what they had in front of them. Thank you to the Foil Helmets for being a part of this. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good one. Goodbye.